Dear academic community, welcome. Today we will examine Master of Arts Imran Chohan's dissertation Enhancing Employability Super Skills Among University Students, Educational Design Research about an Employability Course Design Solution. The opponent is Professor Emeritus Eero Ropo from the University of Tampere, and Kustos here is Professor Satu Uusiautti from the University of Lapland. The public defense begins.
Honored Chair of Examination, honored opponents, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is an honor to stand before you today and present my research on a topic that has grown increasingly significant in our fast-changing world. Enhancing employability super skills among university students, educational design research about an employability course design solution. My journey into this research stemmed from a simple yet profound belief that students should not have to wait until they have entered the workplace to learn skills that are essential for their success. These skills, often called soft skills, are not mere add-ons to academic learning, but foundational tools for thriving in professional environments. Let us begin with the context and motivation behind this research. Today's employers are not just looking for technical expertise, but for individuals who can communicate effectively, motivate themselves and others, take initiative, and lead with responsibility. These are the very skills that I refer to as super skills. These skills are often overlooked in traditional academic curricula. My goal was to change this paradigm by creating a course where these skills could be taught, practiced, and refined within the university setting. I focused on a learning by doing approach where students actively engage in tasks, reflect on their experiences, and derive meaningful lessons that contribute to their personal and professional growth. Why is this approach so significant in this context? Learning by doing ensures that knowledge is not just theoretical, but experiential. When students practice communication, motivation, initiative, and leadership skills in real-time scenarios, they are not only acquiring skills, but also building confidence in their ability to use them. This approach mirrors the real world, where success often depends on one's ability to adapt, collaborate, and act decisively in complex situations. In essence, learning by doing bridges the gap between the classroom and the workplace, preparing students to excel in both. Now let me illustrate this concept with an example from my own course. One of the very first activities I designed was an introductory creative task. Unlike conventional classroom introductions, this task invited participants to reflect on their unique skills and share them in a way that fostered both individual expression and group connection. Here is how it worked. Participants were given 3 minutes to identify and either write down or draw these skills they possessed, skills that could potentially help their peers. Each student then introduced themselves by sharing these skills. But the task did not end there. To ensure active listening, I asked each participant to introduce someone else from the group based on what they had just heard. This not only encouraged attentiveness but also ensured that every voice in the room was heard and valued. Why is this important? In group settings, contribution is key. When every member actively participates, the group becomes more cohesive, innovative, and effective. By requiring students to speak and listen, this task helped even the most introverted individuals find their voice. It sent a powerful message. In this group, everyone's input matters. And when everyone contributes, the group as a whole becomes stronger and more capable of tackling challenges together. But the true magic of this activity lay in what came next: reflection. After completing the task, students reflected individually on what they had learned about themselves and their peers. This was followed by a small group discussion where they shared insights and explored how their collective strengths could benefit the group. Finally, we came together as a class to discuss these reflections, deepening our understanding through shared experiences. This cycle of task, reflection, and discussion was not a one-time event, but a cornerstone of the course. Over time, students engaged in multiple such activities, each designed to enhance their communication, motivation, initiative, and leadership skills. Through these repeated cycles, they experienced what I called experiential learning, a process where learning becomes internalized through action and reflection. And as they practiced, they also began to build a community of mutual support and shared growth. The participants were master's degree students from the general education and arts faculties at the University of Lapland. 15 students in 2 phases participated in the course. In terms of research methods, I employed an educational design research (EDR) approach. This iterative process allowed me to design, implement, evaluate, and refine the course based on real-world feedback. Data collection also included interviews with students, their reflective writings and feedback, and my own observational notes. For data analysis, I used content analysis, which enabled me to identify recurring themes, patterns, and insights that informed subsequent iterations of the course. A little bit more about EDR. This research has iterations, namely Course 1 and Course 2, where EDR model principles were implemented. Course 1 started with the planning phase and then the implementation phase. Afterwards, before Course 2 began, the refining phase was added instead of the planning phase, and then the new implementation phase occurred. Therefore, the whole process was planning, implementation, refining, and new implementation. The EDR model was implemented 2 times to collect data. The first iteration, which was the Course 1, consisted of Phase 1 and Phase 2. The Phase 1 started with the planning of the course and getting it approved by the faculties involved. During Phase 2, the course was implemented and data was collected. The data was collected in the forms of reflections, feedback from the students, my observational notes, and interviews. After the implementation of the course, the second iteration started with the Phase 3. The goal of which was to refine the course based on the previous course feedback and my observational notes. The purpose of this phase was to refine the course implementation based on experiences and feedback gained from the first iteration. In Phase 4, the implementation of the refined Course 1 added. Again, data was collected in the form of reflection, feedback, my observational notes, and interviews. This time the purpose was to use the data to move to the Phase 5, which was the results phase. In Phase 5, the result of the 2 implementations of the employability super skills course were discussed. This phase focuses on the analysis of the 2 iterations as a whole and forms the basis for the finalizing my model. I had two objectives which did not change for the data collection in these two courses. My aim was to introduce and practice team building by using workshop based on reflection, feedback, and experiential learning, to introduce super skills, to help participants identify the basics of reflection, feedback, and experiential learning, and to help participants develop strategies to achieve super skills with the help of reflection, feedback, and experiential learning. The planned learning outcomes were to have the students be able to collaborate, communicate, share knowledge, be creative, learn how to evaluate, and do problem solving in groups as well as individually. To reach the objectives and aims of the course, several tasks and practices were chosen. Each of them focused on certain employability super skills. These activities, tasks, and practices altogether formed the structure of the course. As the course progressed, I implemented design solutions based on observations and feedback from the first iteration in course 1. For instance, I allocated more time for feedback, allowing students to reflect more deeply on their performance. I emphasized responsibility for others, encouraging students to see leadership as a collaborative and empathetic endeavor. I clarified the distinction between the process and content, helping students navigate their learning journey more effectively. I introduced a termination phase. This provided closure and sense of accomplishment at the end of each activity. These adjustments culminated in the development of a model I call SkillCraft, a curiosity-enhanced employability super skills framework. This model encapsulates the principles and practices that emerged from my research, offering a structured yet flexible approach to teaching and practicing employability skills. Now, as I reflect on this journey, I am struck by the transformative power of active learning and group collaboration. When students are not just passive recipients of knowledge but active participants in their learning, they become more engaged, more motivated, and more confident in their abilities. And when they work together, they create a supportive environment where everyone's strengths are amplified. This journey has also deepened my understanding of how experiential learning can redefine the educational experiences. I have seen students move beyond their initial hesitations, breaking out of their comfort zones to embrace challenges with curiosity and resilience. They learned not only to share knowledge but also to seek it actively, fostering a sense of ownership over their personal and professional development. The reflection sessions in particular revealed something profound, that learning is not just an individual endeavor but a shared journey. When students articulated their insights, they not only solidified their own understanding but also enriched the perspectives of their peers. This collective growth reinforced my belief that the act of listening and contributing in a group is as vital as the task itself. Moreover, this process has shown me the power of failure, not as a setback but as a learning opportunity. Watching students confront obstacles and use feedback to refine their approaches was a reminder that growth often comes from the moments of uncertainty and perseverance. It is in these moments that skills like communication, motivation, initiative, and leadership are truly tested and honed. Lastly, I am reminded of the larger purpose of this work. Beyond enhancing employability, these skills are tools for life, equipping students to navigate complexities, collaborate effectively, and lead with empathy and vision. Witnessing their growth has been both humbling and inspiring, affirming the importance of cultivating environments where learning by doing is not just a methodology, but a way of thinking. Finally, this research underscores why enhancing employability super skills is vital in today's employment landscape, especially for individuals with higher education. Many graduates struggle to align their academic credentials with employers' expectations for soft skills. By addressing this gap, my research offers a pathway for students to prepare themselves more holistically for the professional world, contributing to their personal growth and to society as a whole. In closing, I invite all of you to consider how these principles might apply to your own contexts. Whether you are an educator, a leader, or a lifelong learner, the lessons for learning by doing and fostering group contribution are universal. Let us strive to create spaces where individuals can practice, reflect, and grow, not just for their own benefits, but for the betterment of communities and organizations they serve. Honored Professor Ropo, assigned as the opponent by the Faculty of Education of the University of Lapland, I respectfully ask you to present comments and critique on my doctoral thesis.
Dear Kustos, dear doctoral candidate, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Labor markets have changed rapidly everywhere in the last few decades. This is partly due to the technological development, digitalization, and myriad changes in the worldwide business and industry. We can assume that those changes are not going to slow down but accelerate. It is evident that labor market requires actions also in education and higher education. We are here today to discuss some of the possible actions to be taken in higher education. Master of Arts Imran Chohan's research is titled Enhancing Employability Super Skills Among University Students. Educational design research about an employability course design solution. The research deals with university students' future working life, and particularly their skills and competencies related to employability. In the current Finnish societal context, there are increasing pressures for universities as well as other educational institutions to educate young people to work in the new labor market, which is requiring new orientations and perspectives to technology, sustainability, immigration, human rights, equity and equality issues, locally and globally, actually. We do not know what the societies and labor markets look like in the long term, but from the history and reflections of what is happening now in the world, we know that these changes and big changes will be evident. Consequently, it is important to continue to revise curricula, teaching and instruction to be able to provide students with best qualifications for their entrance in the labor market and lifelong learning. Imran Chohan has taken an initiative by designing and organizing courses that are aimed to increase students' employability by providing them with the skills in the labor market and for the labor market. Those skills he calls super skills. From the perspective of high unemployment rate in certain areas of university degrees, this research topic can be regarded as very timely. It is also theoretically important and interesting. Although it is easy to say, it is not that clear what the crucial knowledge and skills for employment in labor market might be. It is also important question if it's possible to teach those skills as part of university studies. This is very much a question we should consider as a societal question and consider carefully to include these complex conversations and discourses into the university curriculum. My pre-understanding is that Imran Chohan's research might give research-based answers to those kinds of societally relevant questions. From educational theory point of view, this study investigates the nature of competencies that education and particularly higher education should promote and provide with to prepare graduating students for successful employment. For universities, this study might also give important research-based knowledge for practical curriculum design and instructional planning. In this study, the research question is expressed as follows. Can and in what extent students' super skills of employability, communication skills, motivation, initiative skills, leadership skills be enhanced by using feedback, reflection, and experiential learning workshops? We will now begin the discussion to assess how well Imran Chohan has succeeded in this research related to the aims and the questions of the study. Okay, now we have maybe an hour and little more time to discuss in of the details of the study and go deeper in the parts of the study. But before we start discussion, I would try to clarify my role as an opponent here. I have understood that opponents have at least 3 different roles or positions. First, of course, is the outside reviewer, and this is an old tradition in a university that dissertations are always assessed and evaluated by outsiders who are not involved in the design and execution of the research plan. And so this is the final check, and hopefully this is also final check by the scientific community. And if it's accepted, as it usually is, it's a proof that this is valuable study. So that's my first role. Second perspective that I'm using here is kind of being devil's advocate. So I'm really asking bad questions, and those questions that may sound stupid and very critical, but I think the purpose is not to annoy the doctoral candidate, but raise the issues that are critical in research making, because research is very difficult work. I think it's the most difficult work that human beings can start. It's not easy, and it's not self-evident how to do it and what the questions answers are. And the last point is to be a critical friend. So I'm trying to find strengths also and help you further your scientific work later on, because this is just the beginning of your research career, and later on you will continue hopefully to do research in this area, and make it better, design better, and benefit the universities and humankind by your lifelong career. So I'm mixing these different roles, and and hopefully we all can learn something, because you are the best expert of the topic. You have done lot more work in this kind of in this theoretical foundation and this design than I have. So the benefit is some way in your side. But of course, in this position, I have privilege of asking questions, and you will be answering those. Okay, we will start by very traditional question about the title. You are using here the word enhancing, enhancing employability super skills. I would like to ask, why did you use this enhancing and not using words like teaching, training, coaching, mentoring? Lot of different words that you could use in this as a first word of the title.
So I am trained as a facilitator, and the role of a facilitator is not to teach something new, is to take the advantage of what you have already learned and enhance it. So this enhancing comes from there, that these skills are already known, these skills are not something different, but they are out of practice. So I provide a platform where they can practice and enhance to keep on learning more and more. So enhancing comes from there.
Yeah, so the pre-assumption was that they already have all these skills, but they are hidden somewhere, or
they are out of practice.
Okay.
you know, there was a Sir Robinson. He did one talk on how schools kill creativity.
Mm-hmm.
So when the child is young, it's very creative, and then it goes out of creativity by the time he reaches end of his school career. So the skills are there from the beginning. I just wanted to enhance them again.
Yeah.
Remind them they have these skills, they need to practice.
If you try to enhance, should you have studied yourself? How did I perform in enhancing?
Of course, I have been studying facilitation since 2011. I never stopped. My master's thesis is also regarding the same topic, and then I did YouTube videos, I did website writing, blogs, all this time. I never stopped learning about or enhancing my own skills on facilitation.
Okay, yeah. I think that it's thinking about the contents of the study. I think it is very good, very good word. Although I could have used another word, but maybe then the design of the study would also change. But at this point, we are happy with the term. It's fine. Then let's go to the page 6 in this report. You are talking about the purpose and the research questions. I already repeated the research question that you have, and here in the page 6 you have this in the form that I read, but then in page 47 you are also saying that you have two purposes. You have also not only this enhancing these employability skills, but there's also another one which is making and developing this course for enhancing this. So was it also this creating a model? Was it also a purpose or research question, or how do you define these two?
Well, I was enhancing my own research. So this, because we came to a conclusion that we are going to use EDR approach a little bit later in my research, then I had to do iterations. Therefore, the second purpose was added, that I have to find a way to improve the course itself, to be able to do an EDR kind of research. So hence the discussion on how to improve the course itself.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about what's your main contribution in this study. Is it answer to the question if you can enhance these skills, or if you can create a model for a course to enhance? These are two.
Yes and yes. So my own research is to enhance. That was my purpose. And then for future use and for other people to adopt to this course, for example, I'm doing this to enhance the super skills, but others like you or somebody else, they have different subjects, so then they can use this framework to integrate it into their own teaching styles and then implement it. So hence the framework in this context.
Yeah, so you are giving this to the scientific community to use.
Yes.
University community to use this model. You are not creating your own business out of this.
Yes. And I have actually implemented it, but it's not part of this. So if you want, I can tell you.
Okay, I'm just curious how you define your research aim and objectives. Okay, then we can decide that from that what you said, that this course creation or course development is a kind of side effect of your study, or
Yes.
product, co-product of your study.
There are 2 or 3 side effects in this research. The definition on graduate employability is one more.
Yeah.
That was something I did not think of before, but it came during the research.
Then one thing is about this concept of skill. How do you define this concept of skill? What is skill?
The soft skill or the hard skill?
How do you define the skill in the context of this study? You are talking about communication skills, motivation skills. You are not using competencies or qualifications or knowledge. You are using this specific concept of skill.
Yes.
What is it?
So one is a hard skill, communication, how you communicate, like if you are a teacher, how you communicate your subject to the students, and vice versa. But then there is a process involved during that communication, and among the group, for example, if you're doing a group work, how do you communicate, and what is the process behind that communication? So skill is a process, and I implemented that part in this study in my course, that content was given second priority, like the end goal or end result. That was not very important. The important part was the journey, the process, and during that process communication happened, and then that part of the communication skill is enhanced.
Yeah. I'm maybe looking forward to your own description of the concept of skill, you are not using the ability, for instance. You are using skill. Is skill different than ability or competence?
Like we said in the beginning, everybody can communicate.
Yeah.
But for example, if you take a feedback, it's very difficult because students in the beginning will be afraid to give feedback to each other because of the arguments and fights and all those things. Not the literal fights, but like communication fights. So then we practiced feedback giving to each other, and then slowly students realized that yes, it is not very difficult to give each other feedback and be angry at each other at the same time. So they saw the difference between good feedback and the constructive feedback. So we practiced those skills, like how to give a feedback. So, and then they give feedback. Similarly, if you are given a leadership role to manage your own group, which I did in the course, then the leaders in the beginning, they were not giving the roles as a leader. They were afraid, again because of fear of like arguments and all those things. And then I managed to have process meetings with them, and then they understood their roles, and then they started to be acting as a leader. So then their leadership skills improved, the soft skills part, not the hard skills. So,
Yeah.
so this all comes under the process and the
Yeah.
journey.
To me, I'm thinking about the concept of skill. Skill is something that is not innate. It is something that we learn and we can practice. Ability is something which we cannot very much practice, and ability is something innate coming from us. Maybe we can develop it, let's say, but it is not the same as skill, like a skill jumping over the something, or something which you becomes better when you practice. Competence is maybe more contextual skill. That if you have competence, then you can behave in a proper way in a certain context. Skill is something quite specific to me. Knowledge we can teach. Knowledge is something that we acquire and then process, and it becomes meanings and structures.
So knowledge will come under hard skill.
Yeah.
That you have, and then soft skill is to practice and to learn through your own skill. So that is the part which is missing in the university curricula, and then I focused on that part.
Yeah. Okay, we'll come back to discuss more about these specific skills later on. Then you also speak about motivation skill. I'm wondering, motivation is something different to me than skill. How do you define motivation?
It was also very hard for me to define, and I have to write it many times. But I can give you an example. In one of my class, there was very introverted student. He was afraid of speaking, and then I had this introduction activity, very first activity, and then everybody's supposed to stand up and start their introductions. So the first guy, he stood up and he was introducing himself, and after that everybody was quiet, nobody was standing up. And the teacher standing with me, he was afraid, why is nobody standing? And I did not say anything. I asked the teacher, relax, don't worry. And then 5 minutes passed, nobody stood up. And then suddenly one guy in the back stood up and he introduced. And then the whole class started introducing. At the end of the day, the teacher told me that this guy, we gave up on him. the second guy who stood up. Nobody gives him homework, nobody says anything to him, he does his own things. He never speaks in the classroom. But he was motivated through peer pressure, and he stood up and he introduced himself. And at the end of the course, he stood up in front of the whole school, including staff members and outsiders, and he gave his speech. He did what he was supposed to do. And at one point he forgot, and his own group came next to him, encouraged him, motivated him, and he finished. So that kind of motivation is what we are discussing.
Yeah.
So it's very intangible experience, and it's very difficult to like write it. I tried, but I don't know if I succeeded in motivation. And similarly, initiative, same thing.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting point that motivation can be thought as a skill. It's not a force like we usually.
No, I'm not talking about motivational speakers here.
Okay.
No motivational speakers.
Yeah. Anyway, we have to be able to motivate ourselves. I'm sure. Is it an ability or will or whatever it is, skill maybe, but my point is that these terms are really difficult to define and difficult to understand, and that's why I'm asking what's your specific definition for each, because at least the readers have to understand how you use them.
Yeah.
Okay, then also you are talking about ontological and epistemological questions on this same page 6, and what are your ontological assumptions in this? Ontology deals with existence, our concepts of existence. What is existing? How do you define your own points as a starting point in this study?
Can you repeat your question? I was reading. Can you repeat your question?
What is the ontological assumption that you are using in this study? You're talking on page 6 that ontological assumptions are objective realities that exist independent of human perception, and that's taken from Creswell. So it seems to refer that you have realistic conception of ontological, that there is perception and then there's real existence, and these are not the same. I'm seeing the table here, but I'm not sure if it's existing, but your conception is realistic, that table is here. And I may perceive it differently.
So,
but
one thing I try to, as a whole, tell is that I'm focusing on process, the journey. So I see everything in that lens. So I look at processes involving enhancing these 4 super skills. So like I see them and I want to enhance them.
Yeah. So your ontology is that these concepts exist in the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm enhancing them.
Yeah. Because you cannot enhance them unless you believe that they are existing.
This is not a pipe.
Yeah. I was wondering this because I didn't really see your direct ontological assumption. You are just talking what ontological assumptions are for, but not directly how you think about motivation. Is it existing or not? Is it kind of our perception only?
Yeah, I think I did not write it.
Okay, then you are talking about epistemological assumptions, and you are saying that knowledge is socially constructed through interaction and experience.
Yes, and that is why learning by doing approach I used.
Yeah.
Workshop-based learning by doing approach.
Yeah.
So I acted as a facilitator. I did not teach anything.
Mm-hmm.
All the knowledge created in my course was through their own interaction, their own contribution, their own motivation and initiatives. So that is what I did.
Then how do you if we think about this socially constructed social construction, this is interpretive understanding of learning skills are also constructed through social construction, are they?
Yes.
Yeah. And when you are asking students, how do you feel about your learning? Is it if they say that yes, I learned, is it real, or is it their perception of something that is not maybe real but interpretation?
So my students, they did not answer my questions like that. They go through a journey. They work together, they achieved something, they reflected on that individually by themselves, then they shared their reflections with each other and then in a group. And then I asked these questions at the end, after 1 hour of discussion that they did among themselves. And then they don't answer yes. They will answer what they learned and what they experienced, and then we discuss everything. And then they listen to each other's experiences, and then they will drive a new experiential learning. So the cycle continues many times during the day.
So it was really social construction,
Yes.
the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you followed your idea because of that. But these are very fundamental questions that researchers have to ask themselves. What is the ontology and what is the epistemology of my understanding of the concepts and the process? And that's why when we are interpreting our research, we cannot say that objectively thinking students learned or did not learn, because they just it's their interpretation, and we have to believe that if they said that positive things happened to me, okay, I believe that because you say it, but I cannot be sure. This is not experimental study in which we introduce some treatment and then measure quantitatively what the results are. Okay. You are referring here also into Berger and Luckmann's famous classics theory, social construction of reality, and it really, I think, changed the social sciences in the sense that before that we understood that we are measuring reality with the quantitative surveys and measures, but then after that we understood that okay, there are really different realities, and maybe this problem is fundamentally global, because nowadays we can see that politicians, for instance, have so many different realities of the world that we as citizens are very confused sometimes. What is reality in the world, and how should we understand the world, and maybe this also reflects into our own identity. Who am I? There are so many realities about myself also, and it may change. So I think it's a problem in university studies that even if they have these skills and that you are enhancing, they sometimes don't understand that they have these skills unless they practice that in the context with other people, and then it realizes them that okay, I can do something with my.
Earlier you were talking about these skills in university settings, so I just wanted to add here that these skills, the 4 skills, are not the only skills that students should be enhancing in their studies. These skills should be based on the employer's demand. If, for example, in Rovaniemi, we have a lot of tourism happening and climate change discussions, and then employers are seeking employees, so we should be discussing those soft skills that those employers need under their employment. So then universities can change these skills to something else. So they are changing all the time. So in this research I just focus on 4 skills, but they are changing according to the needs, and the skills that are required in Europe, they might be different in Asia and like all over the world.
Okay, unless we want to stay here 5 hours, we have to proceed further, and maybe next I would like to ask about this EDR, this educational design research. Why did you use this method? What is the strength of that? Why not using some other methods in enhancing these skills?
I was thinking about ethnography before, but when I read about educational design research and my role as a facilitator, it matched for me, because I'm doing this research, I'm enhancing, and they are doing experiential learning again and again, and here I'm doing iterations. So I was implementing it on myself as well, that okay, I did course 1, what did I learn, how can I improve it, and then the second iteration happened. So it was all about experiential learning and enhancing myself and the course. So then EDR, I thought it's a good idea to work on this one.
How many iterations there usually is when you are developing this course? You had 2.
I have.
But
usually there are 3 and more, but I was ready to go ahead with the 3rd iteration, but then we discussed, my supervisors and I, and then it was deemed okay, 2 iterations are fine.
Yeah, because if you have very difficult problem, then maybe you have to redesign it several times until it's working well enough.
Yeah, and I felt 2 is enough because I have been doing facilitation since 2011-12. So I have done so many times here in this university, in Applied Science University, in Norway and other places. So in my experience, the way I was going forward with this course, I also thought that okay, 2 is enough for me to like give some kind of results.
Yeah. Then about restrictions of EDR, did you recognize any restrictions? What are the things related to this method that are not that good?
I don't know about restrictions, but I added a termination phase based on doing all of these things. But I don't know if I had any restrictions. For me, it was like very easy to implement it and like use it.
So it is so good that you will continue using it?
Yes.
After this?
Yes. With your class.
Yeah. Yeah, it is not, of course, it's not an experimental method in which we design a treatment and then see how this treatment works and what the result is. This design is something else that, okay, we can decide that, okay, the first treatment or first intervention doesn't work very well, so I design it a little better. Let's see how it works. It may work with this group. Does it work with the other group? I think it's you cannot use it like experimental method. You have to use this in an interpretive way and understand that context is also different, maybe in different groups. Did you find any contextual factors that affect to the efficiency of this method with your students?
It might be very simple answer, but it's time. Time is like big factor involved in this one, and I also felt that time is restricting me to do so many things. And then nothing else except when I was doing this research, I had to go through with the corona phase as well. So I think about doing online third iteration, but then we did not go through with that one.
Okay, let's go then into this very basic concept of employability. You have, I think, very good foundation in this book from page 11 until 16. Different definitions and different literature concerning employability. And to me, it looks like very complex concept. How do you react to my understanding that it is very complex?
So simple employment is whatever you are doing is your employment. But when we talk about graduate employability, we mean that the job you get in your own field. If I am a facilitator, I should be doing something related to this one. So very simply, it's that one that we are discussing. A job that you studied. If you are a researcher, then you're doing research. And if you are a facilitator, you're doing facilitation job. If you're a lawyer, you're doing a job related to your own field. So that is what I try to differentiate here. And then I looked at so many different definitions of employability and then graduate employability from the very beginning. And my theme all over is the basics, the understanding of the basic concepts. So when I discuss definitions, I try to give the very basic or get all the very basic ideas and put them together. And that is because we don't work on these skills in the university level or even on school level. So I cannot discuss something advanced. I have to start basics. So once the basics are covered, then I can go deeper into each skill or each field and then discuss more deeply. So that is why you will see basics here. So the definitions, the graduate employability definitions, they are all very basic level definitions, and just for the reader to understand the basics and then move ahead. And there is another reason to do so, and that is every subject teacher will teach their own way. I cannot tell you, for example, use my method. You have to use my method, integrate into your own methodology, and then you can use it. So in that sense, basics are important to have it, and then you can go ahead and use it the way you want to use it. So these definitions, same way, covering the very basics of employability and graduate employability.
If you think about employability in terms of subject knowledge and related things, and then your super skills for instance, in a teacher profession, what is the percentage of super skills in employability compared to knowledge of the subjects and these professional skills that people have to have? Can you?
I can give an example. Maybe it's easier for me to help you understand. There are 20 lawyers applying for a same job, but there is only one job, and out of those 20 lawyers, only one lawyer can prove that he or she has done soft skills, people skills. You know, when you go for a job, employer always asks you, do you have any people skill? So then if one person can tell the employer that yes, I have done this course and I have actually practiced it and I know all these skills, then that one person will have more chances to get that job over other 19 candidates. So this is how I see.
So employability is very...
So I don't know the percentage, but it's high.
Yeah.
Even if you go on LinkedIn right now, every job will end about these skills, asking if you have people skills. There are so many different words they use, but let's just say people skills. So I don't know the percentage, but it's high. It's very important.
Yeah, we none of us know those percentages. That's for sure.
I will say 95%.
Yeah, you are mentioning here that graduate employability is a diverse and complex concept.
Yeah. I was reading so many definitions, I don't know how to...
Yeah. But anyway, you are discussing it quite nicely. And of course, this is a problem for the whole research community, how to study this kind of complex issues. Sometimes we are not that good, but we have to try. That's the thing. Then maybe we will go to to these skills that you are describing here. And let's go to page 26. You have this communication skill. Just as an example, I would like to make a trip into the nature of communication. What is it about? I think we have a quite famous saying here in Finland that if you communicate, you need two things. You have to have something to say, and you have to be able to say it in a verbal form.
Yeah.
And
simply, yes.
what is communication to you? What do you communicate in a group situation?
Present exactly what you said, communicate what you're saying, another person is responding to that words that you have said. Very simply.
So it's kind of, I was thinking this question, what we communicate. In teaching situations, teachers of course communicate information and experiences and their own understanding and interpretations of the knowledge that they are focusing on. This is one way communication. But then I've been doing some work about with the concept of positioning, that in a group situations we position oneself. It's like understanding position as a role. I'm active, being speaking a lot and trying to dominate the situation, then I'm positioning myself in a dominating position. And it doesn't depend what I'm saying, but I just want to dominate.
Yes.
And then I also position others. You are not very good, so I position you in a stupid position, like teacher can do in a class situation. That you are lazy, you are intelligent, you are very smart. There, it's not kind characterizing their abilities, but it's positioning in this group situation, and. And so is this also communication? It's non-verbal somehow, but the meanings are implemented into the phrases that we are using.
Yes. So what I did, I did not let this thing go into my students.
Yeah.
From the very start, from the introduction. They had to work together to do something. Later on, we implemented leadership roles as well. But like, I did not get it to that stage where only there is one leader who is dictating everything. I made sure that everybody is contributing in a group.
Yeah.
So then this thing never happened in my classroom. So the structure was so good that they contributed among themselves, they acted as leaders, and then I gave them some basic ideas about leadership. But they worked out everything. Even the evaluation methodology I used to evaluate their course, because I had to give them credits, they came up with their own evaluation. And then I just made sure that every day they follow their own rules they create. So in that environment, this thing never happened.
Did you encourage them to have kind of equal roles or equal positionings, that they are all equal in the sense that one is not trying to dominate?
Instruction was not given verbally.
Yeah.
They managed everything by doing, and they understood it by themselves.
Yeah. Did you notice that somebody took a leading role in the discussions?
Yes, in the beginning, of course, because many people will be introverted, and in Finnish society, Finnish people will take some extra minutes to speak. So they all managed. I had Finnish students, I have international students in my group. They all managed. Nobody was complaining. They all participated. I only asked these reflective questions. Did everybody participate?
Yeah.
And if not, why not? And then I had some tasks for warm up, just for refreshing their minds. Even at the end of those activities, which had nothing to do with the thing we are doing, I always had a discussion session where I asked these reflective questions. Did everybody participate? If not, why not? And if you are a leader, did you make sure that the members are participating? And I asked members, did you participate and did you follow what your leader said? So I just asked these questions to remind them, and then I let them discuss all these things. So the conclusions are based on their own interpretations and discussions. I did not put anything of my own other than my observation notes.
So my understanding is that the participants were quite introverted and not very familiar with the group kind of discussions, expressing their opinions or interpretations of different things.
No. We are in the university level, so obviously they have been doing in discussions and all those things, but some are dominating and some just keep quiet. But in this group, everybody had to say something. This I made sure.
Yeah.
That everybody is not just quiet and and at the end of the day will tell me that okay, I did my homework or I did my group work. Everybody had to do process meetings with me. I had 2 process meetings, and during that time we only discussed journey, process, how is it going, are you participating, why not, what is the issue. I did individual meetings, I did group meetings, everything. So they see each other, they listen to each other, and they build upon the ideas from each other's ideas. So in that sense, there was no higher authority.
Yeah.
Everybody was equally contributing.
Yeah, we can see from TV very many kind of meetings and collaborative or communicating situations. Politicians, if you see how politicians discuss, they are trying to position each other very strongly. That your point is not very good, my point is much better. that kind of talking. Then if you have expert group discussing, then different experts have a different role according to their expertise or position in the organization, and then they communicate with that expertise, giving the perspectives, and then the social construction happens, and the result is something related to the expertise level. Students, when they communicate, they are quite in a quite equal situation, and so it's quite difficult, I think, for introverted students to start communicating. Maybe your approach that they have to do something together is the best one.
I did not move forward until I was sure that everybody is participating.
Yeah.
If one person is not contributing and there are 5 people, so it's already 20% less contribution. So I made sure that they understand that importance of this, and for that I used IMGD model by Susan Whelan. So they could see, and I usually used to ask them, okay, what do you think your group is at what level now? Is it in the first phase of the IMGD model, or the second phase, or the third phase, or the fourth phase? So I did all those things regularly. So they understood all these things, and they practiced again and again. And then when they were doing their own group work, project work, they had to follow the same things that they practiced with me in the first 3 days.
Yeah.
So then they continued to ask each other the same questions, the evaluation questions that they came up by themselves. They answered those every time they meet. They did their own reflections and they send me those reflections. I'm not there, but they're doing the whole structure by themselves every time they meet.
Maybe a third kind of communication skill is to communicate your emotions and feelings. Did you notice that they also use this emotional or empathetic emotions there, that like sharing that, okay, I understand that it's a difficult time for you, I really empathize you in that respect, or I'm angry with you, or I really like your things.
Okay, so this came under very personal something discussion, because they have been working together and they trust each other. So many of the conversations that I did not include here were the feedback that they give each other, mostly like this. And because it was for their own enhancement and for their own use, so one meeting I did not even attend. I let them give each other feedback and open whatever they want to say. They did that, but I did not get to hear many of those feeling parts. But they definitely did that in their own conversations.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting discussion about this communication skill. How about then, if I take other skill, you mentioned this motivation skill. is this something related to self-motivation or motivating others?
Both.
Both.
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
Because I was doing group work, so I had to have both.
Yeah.
And reflection, it was first individually. So what they learned by themselves, they think about that one, and then they share with others. And only then experiential learning happens. So I have to do both.
If you think about this division that we usually use, this extrinsic, intrinsic motivation, extrinsic is something that I'm doing it because I'm getting some rewards, salary or money or something else. And then intrinsic motivation is something that I'm really interested in this topic, and I'm doing it even if I'm not getting anything out of it. Did you see that? Okay, some students were more interested in these tasks that you had because they were intrinsically motivated, or did they enhance others' motivation with this extrinsic or intrinsic dichotomy?
I don't know if I write that specific
Concept, yeah.
reflection in my result section, but on the very first day there was one student who said that, I'm just paraphrasing, that this is the first time in my university where I had to use my brain.
Okay.
So it's that kind of thing
Yeah.
that we are discussing. So they were very, they were learning a lot for about themselves and then how to work in a group. So it was really, for me, a good feedback, and helped me to take it more into deep conversations with them. But this was the very first feedback when I started this course. So students need this kind of thing.
Yeah. I think many teachers, when they are trained at the university and then they enter labor market, they are disappointed that this work is not the same as I thought, according to my educational training. I was a couple of years in a taxi line in Tampere city, and it was middle of night after this kind of karonka celebrations, and then there was one person in the line and pointed me, "Are you Eero Ropo?" "Yes, I am." "How do you know me?" She was a former student from Hämeenlinna teacher education program where I was working 4 years, and she said that, "Why didn't you teach us that parents are terrible and students are also terrible? They are impossible to handle in the classroom." And then she gave me a lecture about the school situation. I was listening. No, we cannot teach everything. So I think this motivation skill, you have to motivate yourself into things in the work that you are not trained at all, and you are really surprised that this kind of things I have to do.
I can give you one example. When one of the things that I do in the beginning is a check-in. Every time we gather in the classroom, students have to do check-in. They have to tell us what's on their mind, and that's because they might be coming from whatever situation, so they can tell us what happened before, so that thing is out of their mind, and then they can focus. So on the second or third day, in the second group, in the second iteration, I forgot. I had more things to cover, so I wanted to start, and then the student said, "But we have to do check-in." So they were motivated to do check-in by themselves, and then we did check-in, and then we started the day.
Yeah.
And I did not have any absentee in my classroom. Everybody was there.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's go go to the concept of experiential learning, this model by Kolb from 1980s, 84 I think is the most referred reference, Kolb's model. How do you explain this model? How did you use it in this EDR process?
Okay, so experiential learning model by Kolb. Everybody has some kind of an experience already, and then they do something, and then they discuss whatever they did, and then they come up with a new experience, and then the cycle continues. And this is exactly what I did with my course. I gave them one topic, they discussed, they came up with their own understanding, ideas and results and the learning, and then they took that learning and they implemented it again in their next iteration. So whatever they learned from their introduction task, then they implemented it in the next task, and whatever they learned then they found a new learning and they implemented it again. So every day at least 3 or 4 times they learned something new and they implemented it in the next time. And during interviews, this was one of the questions, that did you implement already what you learned, because the interviews happened 1 month after the course ended. And then I asked them, what is your planning to do it in the future? How are you going to implement it in the future? So that was all experiential learning, and this model we used.
Yeah, I copied an original model of this Kolb's model. It has 4 stages: concrete experience, reflective observation, abstract conceptualization, and active experimentation. How about this abstract conceptualization? Did you observe that it happened also after the reflection, that they conceptualized what they had reflected or experienced?
Yes. We had to do it 3 times reflection each time, so they are learning from each other. They get some ideas and then they are implementing them again, and they are looking at their ideas all the time. So this thing happened many times.
Yeah, it is. I think it's very difficult in this kind of enhancing process to really control what happens with the participants' minds.
But we have to keep in mind that these are the basics we are discussing here with the students. So they were learning these skills for the first time, and whatever they were doing, it was still very basic level understanding.
There's quite interesting table on page 42. This table 2, experiential learning studies using reflection and feedback as to enhance super skills. You have listed 5 studies here.
Yes.
Can you summarize briefly what is the similarity or difference in these studies compared to yours in terms of experiential learning?
When I was looking at these experiential learning studies, I was trying to find if any of these studies used both reflection and feedback and experiential learning through that at the same time. But some people were using, for example, role play and reflection but not feedback. Somebody was using feedback. So I just combined all those things. So my study was unique in a sense that I was using reflection and feedback at the same time, and both of them was helping students to learn new experiences. So the whole cycle.
Yeah.
But these were the studies which were very much related to mine, but not like completely similar to mine studies.
Were they also about employability or just the other?
No, just the experiential learning related studies.
Yeah, it's quite interesting that this Kolb's model is still quite much used. I remember we organized Experiential Learning Conference in the 1990s in Tampere, and there were a lot of participants from all over, but I haven't heard if there's still going on this process of having experiential learning conferences in the world. Haven't heard of those lately. Okay, let's go then to the implementation part of this study. Can you tell something more about the participants of this process, the students, and how did you recruit the students into the study? And
I put some flyers around the university, and then I find some email lists through the university email system, and I emailed, but we only focused on two faculties here, arts and education, and then more specifically we intended to have those students who are not like going to be employed. For example, lawyers, it's a skill that can be they can easily get a job, but not a normal education student or art student. So we focused on those students which will definitely find hard to get employment after graduation. So then we focused only on education and arts, and I don't know if I specifically say which arts department, but like students from those departments. Then I had different age group students and Finnish students, as well as international students, European, Asian, from Asia and from Europe, and locally like Finnish. Finnish students were like 2 or 3, there are not so many, and mostly I had international students with different age group levels. I mentioned age group because that was one of the problems that the groups faced during their group work. Age mattered in one group, and the communication was not so good in the beginning, but then during those process meetings we sort out many of those issues.
So nobody had English as a native language there in the group, or?
Wait a minute. No.
No, yeah. Was it a benefit or restriction that they speak foreign language all?
I cannot speak English natively as well, so for me it was okay to like deal with. I have done courses in the schools in Sweden where everybody spoke Swedish, and I managed my workshops there as well, because I don't want to listen everything what you have to say. It's the students who are learning from each other. So as long as they are learning, I'm happy with whatever language they are using. But here English was communication language, so they had to use English, but I did not have any issue from any of those or them. It was age is because somebody might say that I have so much experience already, and this is 18-year-old sitting next to me, and I have to communicate with her on the same level. So those kind of things happened in the group, but they were easy to like go away.
What do you think if they had worked using their native language, would the communication had been a little bit lively or more?
Yes, but there was only 1 or 2 Finnish students, and then Germans and other speakers, so they cannot use their own language. In one group there were 2 students from Germany, I think. And when they did their own project work, they communicated in their own language. But in the classroom, they had to speak English, and then we did that.
Yeah.
And it was good for me because I can observe and understand what they are doing, and
Yeah.
then I do my own observation.
How about this? How many students did you intend to have into these groups compared to what you finally got? Because they're in the second phase.
If you look at my results section, chapter 4, you will see I have 2 courses
Yeah.
happening simultaneously.
Yeah.
So I was expecting a lot of students.
More.
And then I learned that not a lot of students will come. So the second iteration, there was only 1 course. So I was expecting maybe 50 in
Yeah.
2 courses.
Yeah.
I was thinking that because before I did this study, I was doing my own like workshops in this university, like all these years before. So every time I had like 20 students or 15 students coming in. But this time, I don't know, because of the other classes happening at the same time, and I was doing it during the day, not in the evening, I had very few students
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah. What if you had 50 students in both stages?
Yeah.
Do you think that your results might be different or same?
The depth
Yeah.
might be more, but the results would have been same.
Yeah.
And that's because I have done that 50 students in Applied Sciences University, and I got the same kind of feedback. Not much change.
Yeah.
Because I put them in a group, in a small groups of 5, 6 students, and then they work, and then we discuss together. So it was manageable.
Yeah. And how about the design of the second stage? If you had like 50 students in the first stage, do you think that the feedback from that first stage would have been different, so that you had designed differently the second stage than you did now?
Maybe I would have time issues. This termination phase came from the IMGD model. So this would have come anyway, and then content and process was the issue that student had. Student thought that I want results. Hence the content part, like I give you some assignment and then you have to give me the result. So that was issue in the beginning, and I had to clarify it many times that no, we are working on process, we are looking at your journey and all those other things, not the end result. So that might have been more difficult for me to explain it to 50 students.
Yeah, so what we learn from this, I think, is that what you say is that the participants have influence on the design of the course in a way that if we have this kind of process that okay, we have 2 different or 3 different stages, then you cannot really adopt the model from earlier studies, but you have to design at least the second stage and third stage differently according to the feedback that you are getting from the studies. Do I understand correctly?
So the model was created at the end of everything.
Yeah.
It's for future use.
But can you use it now?
Yes.
In future?
Yes.
As it is now?
Yes. So you should definitely use it and then tell me.
Okay. Yeah. You believe that it is the final version?
Yes. Yeah. So the course 1, based on my experience as a facilitator. Yeah. The course 2, I changed a bit through the feedback. I added termination phase and I focused more on some specific things. So those came through the feedback and like my own observation. But the first one was based on my own understanding and my own learning and experience. And the final version, the model, is created for everybody else, for you or other subject teachers. They can use it to implement in their own way, and then obviously.
How about if your next students are from totally different areas or domain areas, engineers and medical doctor students, medical students,
Yeah.
would it be the same?
Yes, and I have done that. Machine learning students and then engineering students who work with roads, like road measurements, I don't know what they're called. Like exactly. I have been doing it in Applied Sciences University last 3 years, and they call me back every year. So they are very happy. The teacher is happy and the students are happy.
Okay.
So it's the same model is implemented already 3 or 4 different places.
Yeah. Okay, let's go briefly to chapters 4 and 5. These are the implementation phases, and I have to admit that these are pretty time-consuming for readers to read, because you have to figure out from the quotes that you are using here from the students. You have to figure out what's the point in each of the quotes.
Yeah. So in my first iteration, I had a description of the tasks and activity here already in the book, but then that description was moved to the appendix section. So maybe if you read the appendix section, you read the tasks, descriptions, and what I did, and then you read the results. It might like fill those gaps.
Yeah, and you have this summarizing key findings, like in table 5, page 91. You have this communication, motivation, leadership things.
Yes.
But these concepts that you are using, table needs, of course, explanation. Otherwise, they are quite hard to know what they mean. Reflection and feedback, active participation, listening, inclusion, practice, and such things.
Yeah. So basically, this is like the final stage of content analysis. The words, the categories, these are the categories who are here, and then you have to you have to read the whole result section and content analysis discussion to see all these words. So these words are there, and then I just put them here. I should have said content analysis in the table title as well, so that would be more clear.
Yeah, this table says what they did, reflect and feedback, active participation, but then you have to, as a reader, you have to go into the quotes to think what does this feedback and reflection really mean.
So you have to read the whole section, whole chapter to understand the tables.
Okay, same thing I think is in the chapter 5, in which you have this phase 2.
Yes. So for example, page 98, I have both phase 1 and phase 2 things that I have done.
Yeah.
And then results.
And then let's go to chapter 6, which is a summary of key findings of both phases.
Yes.
Can you offer some kind of brief summary elevator talk to us about the results or findings that you got?
So I have some findings from the phase 1, and then I categorize them under the communication, motivation, initiative, and leadership under these key terms. And then I have similarly findings in chapter 5, the second phase, and then here I try to combine everything. in the both results, like what happened in communication skills, what kind of keywords through content analysis I came up, and then I discussed those here as a summary. So what happened in communication, what kind of categories I came up with in the result section, and then I discussed those, and I try to combine them and answer my research question.
And you are presenting this model, figure 6, on page 133, about the course, I think.
So this is any teacher who wants to implement it in their own teaching methodology. So the first part, which is which is for me, these are my aims and what I wanted to achieve. But if you implement it, you can change it what you want to do it, and then the whole structure is there, what you need to do on the day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6. So then you use your own aims and activities and use this model, this kind of method, that you do reflection, you do feedback, you do discuss these things, and then you come up with experiential learning at the end of each day. Students, not you, like students, and then they can continue, and then you can have process meetings with them where you only discuss their journey and nothing about content itself. And then finally they can present at the end of the day, and then you can have a termination phase. So like you can follow this structure with your own aims and activities.
You have in the appendix, you have these different tasks that you are using.
That I used.
Yeah. Do you recommend using the same task, or?
Yes, because they are very basic tasks.
Yeah.
They are easy to give instructions as a facilitator, and then easy to navigate through them. And then obviously if you have a very intellectual group of students, you can go deeper in the discussions. It will all depend on the topic at hand and how you can use it. So there are some activities and some energizers there as well, just to boost and have a good structure and like trusting environment. Atmosphere is very important. What I realized, if that atmosphere is good and everybody is participating and there is a trust among the students, they will open up. And one thing that I made sure everybody knows is that whatever we are discussing in the group stays in the group. So this helps them to understand and trust each other even better. So these are some of the instructions I gave them like all along the way. And that helped.
Okay, we are ending, coming close to the end of the session, but the final chapter is still not covered. This discussion and conclusion, and usually my understanding is that in this discussion and conclusion chapter we answer to the research question, and your research question starts: can and in what extent students' super skills can be enhanced? So, what do you say? What is your response according to the study? Can we do it?
Yes. It's because if you have read chapter 4 and 5, if you have read all the reflections and quotes that students did and I wrote them here, you already know that they learned a lot. I did not have time, or like I don't know, I forgot. I could make a table for each student's initial reflections and the final reflections, so you can see visually how much better they improved in the reflection only. But if you read, I have still S1, S2, S3, so you can know that S1s, if you just look at S1's reflections, you will see a gradual improvement, how they come up with words and how phrases and all those things. So answer lies in the process there. So here what I did discuss is the domain theory that I came up with through my supervisor's instructions. So I tried to combine everything and like put it under those terms, like EDR, what I did through EDR, and then I discussed implementation of EDR and then results through that light. And then we come up with the domain theory and what happened here under the employability things and my own model, how did it implement. So I discussed that very briefly here. But if you just read this and don't read the results section, you will miss many of the things I'm saying.
In everyday argumentation between two people, one is interpreting something and the other one is listening and making interpretation of that interpretation.
Yes.
But in science, your students interpreted that they had learned certain things, and then you interpreted from that the result is positive.
Yeah.
But the difference between layman and research-based argumentation is that you have evidence for your interpretation, and I think you have shown the evidence in this report.
Yeah.
So it's not.
What evidence is there to have this, as you said, but I want to stress that this is also a journey of mine. So if you read this one as my journey, as a process, and not worry so much about the end result, you might learn something new as well. So this is what my idea was, that I'm also doing a journey and I don't so much focus on the end results. But because end result is important as well, so there are some end results here as well.
So it's also a kind of epistemological journey that we start with some concepts, like you started with communication, motivation, leadership skills, and you have an initial idea what they are about, and after this journey you understand much better what these skills really are about. And I think that's the social constructivist idea, that we don't actually know what exists outside of me and what are the final or true definitions of different concepts, but we have to deal with this kind of hypothetical constructs and definitions that are evolving and developing through our experience. That makes things very challenging, but also very exciting, in a sense that this is the scientific process about. Okay, I'm ready for the final statement. We have examined today Master of Arts Imran Chohan's published manuscript for dissertation titled Enhancing Employability Super Skills among University Students, Educational Design Research about an Employability Course Design Solution. The research report is a monograph consisting of 148 pages of text, excluding references and appendix. The report is organized into 7 chapters, in which the introduction and theoretical foundation consist of the first 2 chapters, research methodology and procedure, consisting of educational design research, and the 3 following chapters, and last two chapters summarize the results and offers the discussion of the study. From the societal perspective, the topic of the study can be considered timely and important. For education sciences, this study will offer results related to the effectiveness of interventions designed to enhance learning of skills that students might need in entering labor market. This study will also provide a model for designing such interventions and curricula for higher education and beyond. Those two aspects I consider as the main contributions of the study. The theoretical foundation discusses the main concepts of the study. This discussion is extensive, detailed, carefully written, and very well balanced based on the previous and current research literature. This discussion assures the readers that the researcher has taken seriously the challenges of understanding the complex concepts applied in the study. Particularly, the discussion on employability concept is very informative and covers the main models and studies on the topic. The methodology is empirical and procedures based on the so-called educational design research, EDR. Collected data is qualitative and it is analyzed using content analysis method. My understanding is that the methodology and procedures fulfill the requirements set for the dissertation. Minor weaknesses of this study relate to the relatively low number of participants in the two stages of the EDR process. Second weakness might be related to the level of analysis of the collected empirical data from the participants. For the reader, the report might give deeper level information of participants' learning of the skills if the answers had been analyzed in more detail. One of the main results of this study is, on my mind, the procedure and contents of the EDR stages. The results from participant data indicate that two stages influenced in positive ways to students' perceptions of their skills acquisition. What did not work in the first stage were listed in the report and successfully developed for the second stage. The summary, chapter 6, brings the results in the more theoretical level. The chapter is a good summary of the main results. It also offers a model design for enhancing the employability super skills. This is a very good contribution to higher education practice. If the employability skills are not developing as a side effect of subject studies, it might be possible to adopt the model into the curriculum that Imran Chohan is suggesting as a result of the study. In summary, the study is well designed and carefully executed project, succeeding in its theorizing and main aims. The reporting of the procedures and results is systematic, clear, and careful. Careful attention is also paid to the limitations, reliability, and ethical issues of the study. The researcher shows clearly his maturity and independent expertise in the not-so-easy research design and scientific domain area. Employability is a very complex issue to be studied and enhanced, as we can read from the pages of the report. I'm happy to recommend to the Faculty of Education that the study and report will be accepted as an academic dissertation for the doctoral degree in education.
Honored Professor Rocco, learner and esteemed opponent of this doctoral thesis, may I thank you for your comment and discussion. I now respectfully invite any members of the audience who wish to comment and critique on my thesis to ask the chair of examination for permission to speak.
There are no comments. The public defense ends. You are all welcome to Restaurant Pelli for coffee and cake, where you can also congratulate the candidate.